Hey everybody, welcome to the Lesser Saints of Discord, your one and only pre-show to the YouTube Saints. Sophie, get back to me. You can be a part of this if you want. Everybody tweet at Sophie, by the way.
Blow up his Twitter.
We go on about 2 hours before the YouTube Saints, just so that you guys can kill some time and, I don't know, eat some popcorn, get ready, enjoy your dinner with us.
Hate yourself a little more.
Yeah. Yep. YouTube Saints start around 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and then whatever other times. Doesn't fucking matter because West Coast is West Coast. So Discord news. Rimshi, you want to take care of that?
All right. Well, this week we have Caligator and Pavros joining us as moderators. Welcome to the mod team, Pavros and Gator. They're standard mods, but treat them as you would any other mod.
Yeah. Oh, also, don't forget, Gator does do a post show for the YouTube Saints, so if you want to get some airtime on Gator's Twitch channel, be sure to join the Discord. There's a link in the description, and hop into the random streaming section where you can hang out with us. I'll be there.
Keep in mind that the after show, unless you get special permissions from us, it takes about a half hour to get into that channel. Or half a day, not a half hour.
Yeah. So if you're new to the Discord, we may or may not let you in. But you can always join in next week if you join the Discord today. Yeah. Oh, also, keep in mind, if you are joining in random streaming, Twitch is very, very family-friendly, and you could damage the credibility of that channel. So keep your jokes on the safer side, please. So we don't want to ruin that for Gator.
The Discord itself is pretty free for all, but on the post show, keep it clean.
Yeah, relative.
Yeah. And shall we go on to the news?
On to the news. Sure.
All right. Well, we're starting off with a interesting one.
Yeah.
The latest in a news story where the subject arrested after shooting. The latest being the officer accidentally shot self during suspect chase.
Yeah. So, in case you guys haven't heard, there's an attempted mass shooting today in San Diego. Apparently, an officer shot himself. As far as I know, it's the only real injury that happened.
And we know that D6C, my best friend, is not a cop, and he's also not in San Diego, so it's not him.
It'd be really funny if it was.
Oh yeah, it would have been.
Yeah. So, San Diego AP. The latest on a shooting downtown San Diego, all times local. So 2 p.m. So about 3.5 hours ago, San Diego authorities say an officer accidentally shot himself in the leg while pursuing a hit-and-run suspect who pointed a weapon at police and was eventually arrested on the roof of a parking structure. Oh, this is different than I thought it was. I haven't read articles. I've just been listening to what other people say. Like I normally do. Police Chief David Nicely, whatever, says officers fired at the woman but missed after she brandished the weapon Sunday at the parking facility in the city's downtown near the finish line of an annual marathon. See, marathons are my least favorite race. There's all this bad shit going on with them. Nicely says the suspect threw the weapon from the top of the structure to the street below before being taken into custody. Chief says it's unclear what type of weapon it was, but investigators are looking into whether it was an airsoft gun. Nicely says police are also investigating whether the woman is connected to a kidnapping in nearby Chula Vista. He didn't have details on the wounded officer's injuries. So, one person got hurt, and it was a self-inflicted wound.
Because they were being a dumbass.
Yeah. Yes, if you shoot yourself 9 times out of 10, it's because you are being a complete dumbass.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Authorities say police arrested a woman who held a gun to her head and fired off rounds in a parking structure in downtown San Diego near the route of annual marathon. Sergeant Tom Sullivan says the incident began late Sunday morning as a call about a misdemeanor hit and run. Sullivan tells the Union Tribune newspaper that officers found a woman underneath a parked car on the 8th level of the parking structure. He says she was taken into custody after she fired several shots. How are they unsure if it was an airsoft gun or not?
Yeah, keep in mind, a lot of people say, well, only cops should own firearms because they're trained. Are you... They don't know if it was an airsoft after it was fired at them. And one of them shot themselves. You definitely have your cops who have a fair amount of training and can do this job. And then you have your cops who go to the range when they have to.
Yeah, remember, cops are just people. People are stupid. So some people are stupid. So some cops are stupid. Some cops are mean. Some cops are nice. Cops are just people doing a job.
And it looks like the rest of this article just pretty much repeats itself. The next line saying, police say a suspect has been arrested following shooting near the route of an annual marathon in downtown San Diego.
Yeah, it looks like this is just an article they've been updating all day.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. But yeah. Breaking news for this pre-show at least. Let's move on to what we're going to talk about next, which is this tweet from Donald Trump.
Yes. Kim Kardashian went to the White House to talk to Donald Trump about prison reform.
Yeah, Bob shooting.
Yeah, but Kim Kardashian went to the White House to talk to Donald Trump about prison reform. What she knows about the prison system, I have no idea.
Well, her daddy was a lawyer. He was able to get OJ off and out of charges.
Yeah. Wait. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I guess she does hang around a lot of black men. So maybe she knows a little something about the prison system. That's how she got famous.
Yeah.
Yeah, but okay. That tweet's just for us to joke about it a little bit. What she actually talked about with him, what I heard that she actually talked about with him is getting rid of mandatory minimum sentencing, which that's fine. Yeah, pop freezing.
Yek no. If the Kardashian if that Kardashian is made part of his cabinet, I'm building a doomsday bunker. I don't think you're gonna need the bunker, because it'll be too late by then.
Yeah. Do you know how long it takes to make a whole doomsday bunker? It takes forever.
You may as well start now. Actually, you really should have started 5 years ago.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of prep that goes into that. Watch Preppers. They'll get an idea. Okay, but what we're really going to talk about is
having to do with Trump. Nonetheless, is
yes.
Hold on.
Trump sent a retired teacher a letter about gun policy. She fixed the grammar and sent it back. So we have a grammar Antifa. It's great.
I'll let you have that one, Jables.
I had to steal your joke, I know.
Mr. I complain about people stealing my jokes.
Yeah, I was going to give you credit for it, but you jumped in and took it anyway. You want to read through this one?
When Yvonne Mason first opened the letter, she read it all the way through. It did, after all, have the president's seal at the top and his signature at the bottom. But sometime around the third read, something began to irk the retired teacher who had spent 17 years of her life refining the English skills of middle and high school students. Look at all these unnecessarily capitalized letters, she thought. Federal and nation and state and states, common nouns capitalized as if they were proper nouns, and too many of the sentences begin with the 9 letters of the alphabet. Or 9th letter of the
Ninth.
alphabet. 9 letters. 9th letter.
Mhm.
I signed into law and I also directed. The letter, with her name on it, was written on heavy, official-feeling paper. Some would see such a letter from the president as suitable for framing, but for Mason, there was an itch that could not go unscratched. She took out a purple pen and did something she had done countless times with countless papers. She started circling. And, yeah, let's get this thing in frame.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's,
Does
that's a
it lay out
corrected
what the
letter.
letter said?
I don't know if it states it later, but we can come back and read it if it doesn't.
Cool.
Or you can pause this and try and read it yourself. I don't know which is going to be easier. Anyway, we're going to keep going. It began with those pesky capital letters, but not by the end. She had scrawled several notes, crossed out a few punctuation marks, and asked whoever wrote the letter a question that may or may not have been rhetorical. Have y'all tried grammar and style check? A scrawl at the end of the paper was aimed at not at one sentence, but seemed to sum up Mason's opinion of the whole thing. Oh my God, this is wrong. If I had received this from one of my students, she told the Washington Post, I would have handed it back without a grade on it and said, hope you left the real one at home.
Oh, jeez.
She mailed the letter, now bleeding with purple ink, back to the White House. But first she snapped a photo and posted it on her Facebook page, because we need those good brownie points. Hoping to draw smiles from friends and former students who have been on the business end of her crusade to protect the English language. Days later, a friend persuaded her to make the post public, and by the end of May, it had been shared more than 4,000 times. The latest piece of evidence for critics who believe the president and his admitted administration play fast and loose with English language. Ugh.
Yeah.
Okay. Who yeah, I'm gonna let that be. As the Washington Post's David Nakamura wrote in March, a constant small mistakes which have God damn, I can't speak today. Which have dogged the Trump White House since the president's official inauguration day poster boasted that no challenge is too great, have become, critics say, symbolic of the larger problem with Trump's management style. In particular, his lack of attention to detail and the carelessness with which he makes policy decisions. It's a message Mason tried to drill into the minds of public school students for nearly 2 decades. How you speak, the words you choose, and your mastery of the English language all convey something about you, whether you're a high school sophomore or a junior senator. God, how much... This is just absurd.
This is just her, like trash talking use of the English language.
Yeah, I don't see any real content here other than look at this awesome teacher and how she got back at Trump.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing anything of absolute value. Yes, he sucks at the English language. That's what people like about him. One of the things.
Because, yeah, well,
he talks like me.
He talks like me. I like that.
Yeah, pretty much. Radical centrist. Grammar review.
I don't want to get sued by PewDiePie.
Okay, I can't take much more of this one.
You know.
Yeah, let's move
Um,
on. Let's move on to our next one. It is so much more fun. Trust me on this one, because Hawaii volcano not safe to roast marshmallows over, USGS says. And I don't even think this is the original title.
I who knows? All I know is I'd really like a good s'more, so I'd probably be one of the people roasting marshmallows on the lava just to see what it's like.
The fact that that has to be said, though, is it goes to show how stupid people are.
Well, don't have to call me stupid.
No,
Jeez.
I mean to be like, let's go to lava and roast our marshmallows.
Yeah.
Bar.
I mean,
No! This can't be! However shall we roast our marshmallows now? Where the fuck is Waffle? Sire.
Waffle is he's in hiding from the government. He posted one too many dink memes, and now he has to hide. Uh,
Let's get on with this one real
Surprisingly
quick.
enough, MI6 actually sends people, if your memes are too dank, they will extradite you back to the UK to prosecute you. All right.
Okay. Hawaii's Kilauea volcano may be generating a lot of heat from bright orange lava and volcanic vents on the Big Island, but don't even try to treat it like the biggest campfire and roast marshmallows over it. As the volcano continues to spew lava, clouds of ash, and deadly lays, the U.S. Geological Survey has been providing constant updates on Twitter on the status on lava and ash clouds. The agency has also been replying to questions from other users about the science behind the ongoing eruption. All types of questions. On Tuesday, Twitter user wrote, "Is it safe to roast marshmallows over volcanic vents? Assuming you had a long enough stick, that is. Or would the resulting marshmallow be poisonous?"
Oh, jeez. One thing I do have to say is I would, the teacher from the last article would do the editing for news publications, because I don't know how many times I've been seeing typos in
Yeah,
news articles. It happens all the fucking time. It
I would
annoys the shit.
totally accept her being the grammar antifa there. That's where it's needed.
Yeah.
Trump
Yep.
doesn't talk worth crap, but at the same time, we don't care. Well, some people
Yeah.
care.
I don't really care. He hasn't done anything that I absolutely strongly disagree with yet. There's probably a couple things I disagree with, but overall, it's many. Anyway, well, I'm gonna get in trouble for that one.
The U.S. Geological Survey replied back, we're gonna have to say no, that's not safe. Please don't try. If the vent is emitting a lot of SO2 or H2S, they would taste bad. And if you add sulfuric acid, in VOG for example, to sugar, you get a pretty spectacular reaction.
So wait, hold on. All I'm hearing is definitely roast marshmallows over these vents. Just don't eat them.
That's what I'm hearing too.
Yeah. Sounds like fun. You guys want to go to Hawaii? Start roasting some marshmallows?
Yeah. Oh.
Okay.
Scientists have said higher sulfuric dioxide emissions recorded at the volcano's vents in recent days are creating the potential for heavier than usual VOG. I'm assuming that's just volcanic fog. So far, trade winds have been mostly blowing the gray haze offshore. The cracks in the ground aren't just emitting heat, but also eerie blue flames as hot lava burns vegetation on Big Island. The U.S.
Nice.
The U.S. Geological Survey has posted footage of the strange blue burning flames on its Facebook and Twitter accounts. Caused by methane gas, the flames were observed on cracks in the street in Hawaii's... I'm not gonna try and pronounce that.
I lost my place in the article.
Leilani? I guess I am gonna try and pronounce it. Estate subdivision on May 22nd. When hot lava buries plants and shrubs, methane gas is produced and as a byproduct of burning vegetation. The USGS said methane gas can seep into subsurface voids and explode when heated, or as shown in this video, emerge from cracks in the ground several feet away from the lava. When ignited, the methane produces a blue flame. Intermittent short bursts of methane are visible in the video, as is lava fountaining, which occurs when a jet of lava is sprayed into the air by the rapid formation and expansion of gas bubbles in molten rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't eat marshmallows that you roast over volcanic vents. That's all I'm getting.
But they hinted at like very interesting reaction with sulfuric acid and sugar have a very interesting reaction.
If I remember right, it's something. Have you ever used one of those firework snakes, the fire snakes, the things you light on fire and they just grow? And if I remember right, it's something along those lines. I could be wrong. Don't quote me. I could be wrong. Probably am.
The snakes are lame. Remember that South Park episode when fireworks got banned in Colorado and they were only allowed to use snakes, so they made the biggest snake of all time. And, yeah. No. Oh, yeah. By the way, guys, be sure to tweet at all of your favorite YouTube pranksters and just tweet at them #SmorChallenge.
Let's do it. In fact, let's start with the Saints. Let's get them to start tweeting it out to people because they have larger audiences.
Fuck yeah, Nick! I know you're watching. Start it.
Let's get this trending.
Let's get this movement going.
All right, now we have one more that we may go through real quick before we get our guest on.
Hold on, Bar. I'm not sure if Bar is joking, but he's telling us not to set snakes on fire.
Yeah, Bar. I don't set snakes on fire unless I'm cooking them.
We'll explain this to you later. Speaking of which, do you want to do the next article, or do you want to bring Bar?
Well, let's go. Let's go over this real quick. Keep in mind, this is from the Conservative Tribune of the Western Journal. So
this is
sent to us by
Griggs.
I
I
don't know how reputable this really is, but at the same time, it does piss me off. And that is tyranny. California farmer thrown in jail after complying with gun registration law.
Yeah.
We're not going to...
California is just UK in America.
Now,
I swear to God.
I'm not saying don't register your firearms in California. I am not by any means saying that. I'm just saying think about what you have to do and what's best for you to do.
Yeah. All right.
We probably won't get very many paragraphs into this.
It is common knowledge.
Go ahead.
I'm going to take over this one. It is common knowledge among gun owners that California has imposed a plethora of strict gun control laws that appear to be more about discouraging lawful gun ownership than preventing crime and violence. Yep. Yeah, that's obvious. That's a conservative point of view.
That's not even a conservative point of view. That is Like, I am not conservative by any means. I am roughly centrist, and that I agree entirely with. It's anti-Second Amendment in many cases.
Alright. At times, it can seem as though California's laws are designed to trap law-abiding gun owners with good intentions and transform them into dangerous felons overnight. Even if they try to comply with a myriad of laws implemented by the state. That appears to be the case for a rather prominent farmer in the Bakersfield area who was arrested and had his home raided by law enforcement agents after he attempted to comply with a state mandate to register his firearms and firearm accessories. Also, I have firearms and firearm accessories.
Yeah, this is just this is, if nothing else, this is proof that a firearm registry database can easily be used to confiscate weapons. I'm trying to comply, and you take my shit away.
Yeah, Jeffrey Scott Kirschenman, CEO of Kirschenman Farms, the chief supplier of the potatoes used by Frito-Lay to make potato chips. They're coming after your chips, guys. Was hit with a dozen felony charges by a district attorney on May 17th following a horrifying surprise raid on his home in April. That raid by agents of the California Department of Justice was launched after Kirschman attempted to register what the state has deemed an illegally modified firearm through the state's online self-registration site. He's being charged with a dozen felonies. That means if he's convicted, he will never be able to own a firearm again.
Yeah.
For trying to follow the law with his firearms. The raid uncovered a dozen firearms, hundreds of rounds of ammunition, 2 suppressors, and what was described as a multi-burst trigger activator. I wonder if it was a crank one or if it was a bump stock.
And actually, as stupid as that term sounds, it actually has a legal meaning in California. It's a device designed or redesigned to be attached to a semi-automatic rifle or semi-automatic firearm, which allows the firearm to discharge 2 or more shots in a burst by activating the device, or a manual or power-driven trigger activating device constructed and designed so that when attached to a semi-automatic firearm, it increases the rate of fire of that firearm.
Okay. I'm thinking it was probably just bump stocks, unless he was one of those cool guys that got the little crank one. You know that? Have you seen this?
Or it could have always been 16 inches of string.
Oh, yeah, that's right. we'll talk to you guys about that in the Discord in private if you're curious about that one. Kirschman is facing 12 felony charges for possession of assault rifles, the suppressors, and the trigger mechanism. Kirschman's problems began when he electronically submitted pictures of an illegally modified AR-15 style firearm. That is, in quotes, as part of his good faith effort to comply with state law, which requires the registration of assault style weapons by the end of June. I don't know if you want to keep going with this article. Or if you want to... I'm browsing through. It's just going over how the laws have been changing over the last few years.
Oh god, yeah, no, the laws
more for registration.
We don't have to keep going through this, but I will quickly go into the laws in California have been changing so rapidly as of late that it's exceedingly difficult to keep up with those changes.
Yeah.
If the moment you comply with one, there's 3 more you have to figure out how to comply with. It seems like it's horrible, and to be perfectly honest, I want someone in California to sue the state of California for breach of the Second Amendment. Actually go through all the laws, figure out which ones they actually want to attack, and include those in the charges.
I think that farmer will be the one to do it.
He may.
Has some money.
He's got money. Hell, he could, if he goes up against the state of California, I don't care that he has a shit ton of money. I would be willing to put into a GoFundMe to help that campaign. I'd be surprised
Yeah.
if the NRA didn't put into to help with that, because this is just absurd at this point. Like, there's a reason some people refer to it as California. It's horrible.
Yeah, I'm glad that in my state of Washington, it's mostly kept to like the counties and big cities where they have gun reform. Nothing's been like a statewide thing. Still an open carry state, no license required.
Which is, it's good. It's just,
Yeah.
hell, I'll be able to go up there and get a concealed carry license if I want it. It won't apply down here in California, but at least I'll have a concealed carry license. It'll take more time than just a visit, but yeah.
Well, it's either Wyoming or Montana. If you get your concealed carry license there, it's valid in like 47 out of the 50 states, or something like that.
Yeah, California does not.
I might be wrong. That might be an old thing. Yeah.
California does not accept any concealed carry licenses from any other state. They're just like, fuck you. We don't care.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So let's get Bar on, because yeah. I will entertain. Yes, Bar. California knows how to party. Communist party. Oh, I don't feel like you're wrong.
Hello, everyone.
And
Hello.
welcome on, Bar. And since we're talking about the tyranny in California, let's move on to the tyranny in the UK.
Tyranny in the UK sounds like the shittiest punk album ever.
Oh, could you
I sent it to him.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm familiar with this little depressing piece of logic.
Oh, yeah.
That's why we bring up the
No one
nice stuff,
expected
buddy.
me to applaud this, did you?
No, we did not
No,
expect
no.
you to, but you.
Oh boy. But please go on for those who are not in the loop.
All right. So this article is "Knives are too sharp, and filing them down is a solution to soaring violent crimes," judge says.
But you guys are fucked.
Oh
Like, you
God,
guys are
I am so
royally
sorry
fucked.
for you guys.
It's time to just start moving to the U.S. and claim political asylum.
No,
Unless you
no.
wanna
Here's
start
what
a
they
uprising.
should really do. They should have a
There-
1776 style revolution.
I am pretty sure at this point there are felons in American prisons with more knife privileges than the average
Yeah.
UK.
Yeah, they can use a
They-
knife.
In the kitchen.
They can use a knife in the cafeteria.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Think about
Guys,
that for a moment.
we understand hashtag free Tommy. We talked about that last week. So after you're done with this, you can always go to last week's episode and you can check out when we kind of talked about that.
Oh, cynic! No!
No.
Radical centrist. He's not going to. He just really likes knives. So we always bring him on whenever we have a knife.
I mean, we do have some knife restrictions, but they're actually common sense policies dictated by context, which
Okay.
is irrelevant in the UK anymore.
So
Yeah,
you know what? For
I
for
think we
context,
discussed
what
it
are
in
the
brief.
restrictions you guys have?
It's basically more in terms of if you are carrying a knife for utilitarian purpose, which you can easily justify, length is irrelevant. So basically, if you're a field worker, a butcher, fisherman, someone who's working with a minimally relevant excuse, you will go on your own way and have no troubles with the knives that you have. If you do possess a knife that serves no distinctive utilitarian purpose, you are limited to a certain length on those, especially if you're concealing them and whatnot.
that's fair enough.
Yeah.
That's
But that's pretty much it. And if you do want to own certain types of edged weaponry, a simple background check and being part of a collectors association and whatnot, or if you're a martial arts practitioner, getting a few background checks will allow you
That's
to
too far.
all the old any collection of edge antique war blades, if you will, that you want. So yeah, it's not as completely free as probably the U.S. is,
Oh yeah,
but
we can own pretty much anything we
nowhere
want. You
near
can't necessarily walk
the
around one.
restriction.
It varies from state to state. Like my state, you can conceal carry a blade up to 3 inches. If it's over 3 inches, you have to open carry.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah, California's weird, and like the the changes are mostly with the firearm laws. They haven't touched the knife laws, but no one really thinks too much about it.
Well,
Back to
the knives are next.
Oh yeah, no, that's if they can successfully get rid of the Second Amendment. Which, if they are successfully able to get rid of the Second Amendment in the Constitution, you're just gonna have a large portion of the country be like, nope, we aren't letting this happen.
Yeah.
We will defend ourselves against this tyranny. And
to people that say like, but the government owns the military. You understand that people in the military, technically they're government property, but they are people too, and they're there to defend the Constitution and people's rights. So
yeah,
keep that in mind.
The actual oath that is taken is to defend, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States, not the government.
Yeah. So shove that up your liberal ass.
American liberal, not English liberal.
Yeah, English liberals are legitimate, pretty much a small libertarian, and
yeah. What they call a liberal, we would call a social libertarian.
Yeah. I would probably be a liberal by UK standards.
Anyway, shall we get started with this abomination of an article?
Here we go with the fun.
All right.
You want to read through this part? I'm kidding. All right. A judge has proposed a nationwide program to file down the points of kitchen knives as a solution to the country's soaring knife crime epidemic. It's almost like if you ban a thing, people still continue to be violent with different tools.
Assuming they can't get access to the other ones, because there are still firearms that you can get into.
You mean the complicated mechanical procedure of using a file or a piece, or sharpening on the floor to get it at the tip again? Oh my god. I don't know if people can handle those kinds of limitations.
There's a thing called a Tonto tip. It's easy enough to make. It's just you have the blade with instead of being curved, it's two.
We can't keep. Don't give out illegal modification tips.
I'm not in the UK. The UK can suck my dick.
People wouldn't know how to do it regardless, because that's so complicated.
Yeah. Well, hey, we're not giving out tips to people in the UK. We're giving out tips to people in the US.
Literally giving tips.
Last week, in his valedictory address, retiring Luton Crown Court Judge Nick Madge spoke of his concern that carrying a knife had become routine in some circles and called on the government to ban the sale of large pointed kitchen knives.
Chicken knives?
Chicken knives. You can use it to cut up a chicken? Fuck off. Latest figures show stabbing deaths among teenagers and young adults have reached the highest level for 8 years, and knife crime overall rose 22% in 2017. In the past 2 months, he said,
doesn't London have a higher crime rate than New York?
For
the first time ever, something like that?
I'm not sure if they still do, but yeah, they did get a higher violent crime rate than New York at one point. Which is fucking impressive. Americans know about that.
Now it's not as impressive as if they had bypassed Chicago, but
No.
still impressive.
Yeah. New York is notoriously muggy, should I say?
That's one way of putting it.
Yeah. In the past 2 months, he said there have been 77 knife-related incidents in Bedfordshire, including 3 killings. Judge Madge told the... That's the name, Judge Madge.
I don't keep... every time you say Madge, I'm not hearing Madge.
Judge Madge told the assembled judges, barristers, and court staff, these offensive often seem motiveless. One boy was stabbed because he had an argument a couple of years before at his junior school. Yeah. He said laws designed to reduce the availability of weapons to young would-be offenders had almost no effect, since the vast majority had merely taken knives from a cutlery drawer. He said a few of them carried by youths are so-called Rambo knives or samurai swords.
Hold on, I want to talk about Rambo knives.
Hold on, let me finish.
Finish the paragraph, but I want...
Rambo knives.
Rambo knives. What's a Rambo knife?
It's a Rambo with it's a knife with a Rambo attached to it. That's no killing.
Rambo had a good-sized Bowie style knife with a survival container held in the handle. It was technically full tang.
God, those things are pieces of...
Yeah, it was technically full tang, but because it was a hollow tang, it wasn't worth nothing.
Oh, yeah. It wasn't a thing at all.
Well,
at least the movie versions were just literally the handle and the blade were constructed separately.
I'm not surprised by that.
And that is compromised.
Yeah, anytime they had to use an actual knife.
The third movie had a full tank blade. They got rid of the whole gimmicky hollow container thing.
The only way you could make that work is if you have the full tang,
and
then it's separate from that.
There's a South African bladesmith who does them from a full block of steel and machines them, called Chris Reeves. Those are the only exception to the rule that I'd recommend. But
have you guys seen a Hot Shots Part 2?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, where he has that... It's a parody on Rambo. And he has this knife and has like a straw inside the little emergency compartment and everything. It has all sorts of shit inside his knife. It's a good movie. You guys should check it out. Alright. So, continuing on. The reason why these measures have little effect is that the vast majority of knives carried by the youths are ordinary kitchen knives. Every kitchen contains lethal knives, which are potential murder weapons.
So is a screwdriver, according to their laws.
Yeah.
A rolled up newspaper. You can stab somebody with that too.
Oh yeah.
See, here's one thing.
Sharpen a stick.
Yeah. I made a shank out of a weird type of pine cone by using a fucking fan to sharpen it and this little point. Anyways. The point is, if you start taking away, like, tools that can also be used as weapons, people will find ways to make weapons regardless.
Yeah, it's almost like there's an underlying problem that needs to be addressed.
It's almost like that. You would think people would see this.
Yeah, but I'm not a judge or anything, so... This man clearly...
Oh, no. No, I don't just like live in a society with regular people and have conversations on the daily.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways. Accordingly, it is very easy for any youth who wants to obtain a knife to take it from a kitchen drawer in his home or in the home of one of his friends. What's with this his shit, you sexist fucks?
Well, don't you know that it's only men who are the violent ones because of toxic masculinity of a...
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we are better at it.
If the YouTube shooter and the shooting attempted mass shooting that happened today tell us anything, it's that
Yeah,
women
men beat up
can't
each
shoot.
other. Yeah, men
That's
beat up each
horrible.
other. Women.
Hi, Dad. Yeah, I sent my dad the link today. I don't know if him and my family are watching, and they're probably cringing at that statement.
Yeah. My mom's probably watching, but she agrees with a lot of the shit that I've said so far, so it's all good.
No, just the fact that I said out loud something that's so misogynistic.
Yeah. My mom don't give a fuck.
They're not
Alright.
mad, just disappointed. Yuck, no.
As a result, said the judge, the most common knife a youth will take out is 8 to 10 inches long and pointed from his mother's cutlery tray. He asked, but why do we need 8-inch or 10-inch kitchen knives with points? Because I want to carve a turkey. How about that?
Oh yeah, it's almost like, people who design work implements know how long they should be, how heavy they should be, how they
Whether or
should be
not they
formed.
should have a point.
Yeah.
Like, you don't always...
These things don't get decided at random.
Like, I don't normally see scuba knives with tips on them, but that's mainly because you don't want to stab yourself underwater. It's just not a good idea.
Yeah, but that's also when you're scuba diving. Like,
yeah, exactly. My
it's
point.
not just
But that's my
but you
point.
also,
That's my
like,
point.
you're, like,
It's per job.
grabbing some oysters.
That runs a specific task, and that's my point. You don't necessarily want a tip on a scuba knife because you could run into issues. Some still do, but you don't necessarily want that. And yeah, you aren't gonna find a tip in general on that. But on a kitchen knife, you'll want a tip. And it's not
How
like...
How am I going to stab open my packet of hot dogs if I don't have a tip on my knife?
It's not like...
No, it's the way you cut with the knife, too.
Yeah, it isn't like a knife attack is going to be prevented by not having a tip. It just means that you have to draw it along the skin a little bit while doing the attempted puncture. Or you just have to sharpen that edge on your own.
Don't do that, people in the UK.
Yeah, no more tips.
No, civil disobedience.
I'm
not encouraging you to break the law. I'm joking.
The government is trying to take just the tip, okay?
Yeah, they just want the tip. Only the tip.
Yeah. Yeah.
For now.
Alright. Butchers and fishmongers do. Butchers and fishmongers do need knives that size.
Average Joe. I want my surgeon to have a pointy knife.
The rest of it's go on, Jables. The rest of it's just amazing.
But how often, if at all, does a domestic chef use the point of an 8-inch or 10-inch knife? Rarely, if at all. Obviously, this guy doesn't cook.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
Acknowledging that
old man.
His wife cooks for him, you know it.
No, she doesn't.
Acknowledge.
They have their live-in serf do it for them.
Yeah.
Oh, I would love nothing more than be able to afford to have a live-in chef. That would be fucking awesome.
Yeah, well, if I can afford a live-in chef, that means I can afford a house and I can get out of this apartment. I want to do that.
Acknowledging that any blade could cause injury, the judge pointed out, slash wounds are rarely fatal.
Oh, bullshit.
Yeah.
That, a puncture wound is going to bleed a lot more than a slash wound, but that doesn't mean that it's better. There's a reason they call it there's a reason why slashing at the neck is generally fatal.
Yeah. The arteries there.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of them in your arms, your legs. Now they're nice places you can cut. And
The
if you
femoral
start
artery is pretty serious
inside the foot,
business.
huge. It's huge, folks. It's the biggest one.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Sire
Just slice at
Dekuchi,
it.
this
All the
tarded
blood,
ass
all the blood.
judge.
Yeah, well, how long does it take to bleed out from a wound to your femoral artery? Like,
Let me put it this way.
Minutes
You
at
might-
best.
No,
Yeah.
not even that. Less 30 seconds, you're gone. And this is being optimistic, depending on how fast your blood is pumping. You get cut in the femoral, I'd suggest speed dialing a loved one and just saying goodbye.
No, if you get cut in the
Oh,
femoral,
over
depending on how much or how far down the leg it is, you can throw a tourniquet over that. You've got about 45 seconds before you bleed out.
How far down? Yeah, but 45.
45 seconds is a lot when you're in that situation. 45
Yeah,
seconds
far down.
is the equivalent of what seems like 5 minutes, but you
I
still
wouldn't
gotta
go
move
into
fast.
it here, but we might as well since we're talking about it. We already mentioned, but it's like if I'm gonna cut you in the femoral, I'm gonna do it closer to your groin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually it's usually a situation where if someone's struggling with you and the knife goes there. Oh, if they're going there by design, that's exactly what I'm cutting.
Yeah. Well,
And
you're
not gonna get a tourniquet on that because the knife attack isn't gonna magically cease. Or even as you,
you're
like you
worse
said,
off. You're worse off if you get cut in the neck. There's no way you could throw a tourniquet over that, and you'd be lucky to get to the hospital in
But
time
even-
to get
but
that
even the
suture.
femoral-
you can't. But you
in
might
the,
as well just
in the middle of
start
an edge attack, you're not gonna have time regardless because it's not gonna be the first blow you're gonna take or the last, and it's gonna keep going. And a lot of people don't even feel it as it happens.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
So it's bad news,
Oh.
regardless. Being attacked with an edged weapon is just bad news overall. Optimistically, yes, you would probably, if the attack ceases and you notice that you're bleeding, if it's in the right space, yeah. And you know that you should, put a tourniquet on it, do.
That's why 3 important things to carry on you are a belt, a
What
knife,
the
and a
hell?
lighter.
Wrong thing.
No, Radical, I am not going to repeat that for the CIA.
They already have it on file, so I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah, it's fine. This is recorded for posterity. So he said, I would urge all those with any role in relation to knives, manufacturers, shops, the police, local authorities, the government, to consider preventing the sale of long-pointed knives, except in rare, defined circumstances, and replacing such knives with rounded ends. It might even be that the police could organize a program whereby the owners of kitchen knives, which have been properly and lawfully bought for culinary purposes, could be taken somewhere to be modified, with the points being ground down to rounded ends. Office for National Statistics figures published in February revealed 215 fatal stabbings that had been recorded by police in the 12 months to March 2017. Fucking get better editors, god damn it. That paragraph is missing some words. This was on par with the previous year's 2012 stabbing deaths, but a marked increase on the 186 in the year to March 2015. God damn it. You guys need to learn how to write. The latest figures showed 10, 16 or 17-year-olds lost their lives in the year to March 2017, as well as 51 people aged between 18 and 24. The combined total is the highest since 2008/2009. Yep. Yep. In the first 100 days of 2018, 53 people were killed in the capital alone, many of them victims of knife crime. New tougher sentencing guidelines for knife crime were introduced in March, with gang membership or carrying a concealed weapon both identified as aggravating factors which could increase a jail term handed down for a knife offense. The Sentencing Council said the reforms were intended to reflect Parliament's concern about the social problem of offenders carrying knives. Blah, blah, blah. That is the end of that article. Yes.
And let's just keep London knife crime on rise. That little table there on screen.
Yeah, it seems to be growing regardless. Go figure. Sounds like a little
Western countries have been very hostile in the last 2 years. 2 or 3 years.
You know.
So, yeah, Radical Centers brought up a good point, because this whole harsher sentences for knife crimes, there's been a wave of acid attacks
Mm-hmm.
in the UK, because it's almost like people just switch over.
Yeah, it's like
In
people
one
will
method.
always find a way to be violent to each other.
It's
And
exactly.
start around.
It's like how in it's a modified version of that quote from Jurassic Park. Crime will find a way.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But again, some of these measurements could make sense. The idea that the harsher sentences, if you have gang affiliation, if it shows that there was, unlawful intent in the use of the knife. Again, this does not. Again, this would not interfere with the object itself and the lawful use of it. Which is, I am all for punishing criminals who use knives. Just don't punish people for using knives.
Yeah, criminals can go to hell.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
which is the whole thing. I wouldn't want.
Let me rephrase that. People who do harm unto others intentionally can go to hell. Criminal being a separate word entirely, given that technically.
We understand the concept here.
Yeah.
Like if a mugger uses, a screwdriver, it might as well have been a knife, might as well been anything else. In terms of the crime he was committing, be it, assault or mugging or whatnot.
Yeah.
That should be, it's not the tool that he used, it's what he was doing with it. It should be taken into consideration, and the harm he caused and whatnot. There's nuance and there is context to these things.
And knives are tools.
Precisely. I have always said this.
Yeah.
Myself, and I believe it full.
Knives are tools just as guns are tools.
Yeah,
it's not the tool, it's how you use it.
Someone wants short-term the illusion of solutions to very complex problems, and that is never going to work out. But it sounds nice if you're like detached enough from the day-to-day realities.
Well, yeah, if you live in suburbia, it sounds nice because you don't understand what's going on in the inner cities.
If you're like an old retired judge like this fine fellow seems to be, that doesn't have, to cut his own crusts off a sandwich.
Yeah.
Just sounds amazing. We just gonna round off the tips, because that's clearly gonna stop someone who's pissed off and determined enough to go stab someone. Oh god damn it! I can't stab anyone now. All these knives are around it.
Yeah. It's not like they can't just steal a knife off a fishmonger that has a pointed tip. I'm
pretty sure you can get a Dremel tool for now. Just, enough determination on the corner of a wall.
Sire de Kowsi?
Ban soda cans.
Ban soda cans, because they can be thrown at children and make them fat. It's like a Pokeball for fat kids.
Oh, that's awesome.
Gaffing poles. Oh, that's not even. If you really want to look for it, there's a multitude of implements all around you.
Yeah.
Unless, unless UK judges are planning to ban solid matter.
Violence will find a way. Violence will find a way. That's why there was the introduction of a lot of single-bladed swords in the Middle Ages time frame.
Exactly.
Because the common folk couldn't have a sword, which had and usually swords had a blade on either side. So they just made really large knives.
Yep, the mesa.
Yeah.
Which literally means knife.
Well, look at you can look at China. Like a lot of the peasants and farm workers, they just figured out how to fight with farm equipment and how to modify farm equipment to.
China and
Yeah,
Japan.
Yeah,
This is it's a bit more complex than that, but yeah, the basics of it.
It is,
People figure out and adapt.
Well, listen,
Do
we
what
could
they gotta
always
do.
talk about what the Metatron talks about, but we've got a
Yeah.
channel that's not dedicated to knives, and
Yeah.
and
Exactly,
we're on
that's gonna be
for
my channel.
roughly 2 hours every week.
That's my niche, goddammit. Don't ruin my future plans.
Hey, if you want to start
Just
a knife
like how-
channel, I'm full support.
Oh yeah. Just like how Hannah is going to make a fortune off of porn once they start doing porn licenses in the UK.
Oh yeah.
Bar's gonna make a fortune off of knives.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's going to sell them to people in the UK, but he's going to.
I am sorry now. I culturally appropriated your fighting traditions, and I'm not teaching you shit. I'm keeping it. This is what white people do. We take from indigenous cultures and we don't give back.
Yeah.
You Portuguese fish guy. Oh, Bar, you're wonderful.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much. You guys are some gems too. But
It's
this is just gonna alienate people more into descend into ridicule. This is just the apparent desperation of people who do not want to acknowledge underlying issues, because that would mean having to cast a critical lens of how their society is structured. And I mean, someone like Dapper or the other UK Saints would be far more.
The UK Saints, I
Equip-
like it.
UK UK Saints fans would be more apt to describe the issues with classism in their society.
yeah.
And I don't want it, and so I don't feel it. But there is a lot of that, and this is kind of what's happening here. Unless of looking at what the problem really is and what drives people to this wave in crime, just easier to just try and almost autistically focus on irrelevant details. Which again, we're just going to see the perpetuating wave.
Yeah, the only reason why we didn't have the UK guys on that are part of the Discord on tonight is because we had them on last week.
Mm-hmm.
So fuck them.
So yeah, you can expect more and more of these sorts of measurements to be thrown towards the general population until they get sick of it, because someone's going to end up in jail for completely innocuous behavior. Like the whole thing. Only butchers and fishmongers and whatnot. So someone's turning their their interest into being an amateur chef and learning on their own, and they wanted dress a carcass on their own with another culinary pursuits, and gets the knives, or carrying them towards their home or towards a friend's home because they're gonna have a cookout and whatnot. All it takes, no one's gonna get arrested for doing absolutely nothing, and then we'll see where this kind of nonsense is gonna end.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm an amateur chef. It's not something I'm looking into as a career, but it's a hobby of mine. Oh no, I can't have knives anymore.
I want that beautiful carving knife. Sir, you need your professional license for that.
Boy, you got a license for that?
Exactly.
Do you have a permit for that license? Do you have a license for
it's
that
gonna
permit?
be a point, like, and depending on how the law gets put into actual place, the phrasing is everything. It would be any long enough implement with a sharp tip, so we might even be talking about a carpenter with chisels.
Yeah.
Any other type of tool that someone keeps around because of a hobby. It's going to potentially get them by his possession of a concealed weapon and whatnot.
Rimshi, any chance you could toss that meme up on the screen?
Absolutely. Oh God, yes.
Yeah. Bar, you can look down at the group chat. You can see it there.
Give me a moment. It'll be up on the screen.
Oh yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, it's like it seems like they're trying to require they already had a TV license, then the internet came around, and now you have to get your porn license because everybody watches porn or has seen porn. And what's next? An internet license? Like you gotta draw the line. I know it sounds like a slippery slope fallacy, quote unquote, but sometimes the slippery slope is real.
No, this
So
has been discussed in other contexts before, in terms of you cannot just simply interfere with people behavior and trying to engineer society. It does not work like that. You have to motivate them to change in the right way.
Yeah.
This is not heading towards anything positive.
Yeah, and it's like you can't just legislate things. You have to encourage people to be better as people. And that doesn't legislation is a short-term solution to it's a shitty solution to a problem. And like cultural changes, those take generations. Because there are always going to be people stuck in their ways that they have to, in all honesty, die off before you can really start seeing any legitimate change within your culture.
Indeed.
As horrible as that is to say.
Yeah.
And again, there seems people breaking these laws give a fuck.
Well, somebody had, it's an old quote from somebody. I forget who it was, but it was, as culture advances, as older generations die off. I forget who it was, or it was science advances as older generations die off. I forget which it was, but something to think about. Kill your grandparents. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I don't recommend patricide or matricide.
Yeah.
Although matricide, it honestly sounds like you're killing mattresses. I know it means killing your mother, but is it just me, or do you hear that too?
I thought matricide was just the crime of taking the tags off of mattresses.
I mean, let's be honest, guys. We've all killed a couple of mattresses in the past.
I have never killed a mattress. I have severely beat it, but I have not killed it.
I hear you. Sounds like a fun weekend.
Yeah. Oh, I used to use my mattress as a punching bag when I was really pissed off as a teenager because, hormones and angst.
That's what I used video games
and because
for.
Your girlfriend was too fast.
Whoa! Hold on.
Wow!
Hold on. I'm David Hogg in disguise. Fuck you, radical centrist.
Oh my.
Fuck out.
What?
No, that would mean Jables lost weight.
Oh!
Yeah. No, you just lost your rent, radical centrist. Get fucked. I have the power over this. Waffle can't say no right now because he's busy doing real life shit.
He's busy fighting the hordes of Mongolians.
To be fair here, Jables is a much, much better person.
Than Waffle or than Hog?
Than Hog. It's at least 3 times the human being. In character, I'm not even talking math. You see, you ban knives, then people just roast each other.
You keep making fat jokes.
Yeah. Everybody knows that big is beautiful. And everybody knows that my belly's just from beer.
Whatever happened to sticks and stones may break my bones, but words are a weapon of mass destruction.
Pretty much.
That's what it seems like nowadays.
Words of violence, guys.
Yeah, and I will. Whenever somebody said that to me at the bar a few weeks ago, I was like, "All right, I'm going to raise my fist in the air. Would you rather I push it forwards towards your face, or would you rather that we keep talking?" They wanted to keep talking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Words are not violence. You can be offended, and
but offense
that's
is
okay.
taken; it's not given.
Well, actually,
Yes.
I mean, as much as we talk about how change can be a gradual and difficult process, I think in the UK they would actually get far, far more ahead in having like constructive, open dialogue about the problems that they're facing right now. Especially in some communities, and that would diffuse a lot of tension, probably. Because for the most part, there had to be a reason for a lot of these attacks to be happening. It's by breaking silence and tension that you start getting towards the truth and making any serious progress in terms of solving a problem.
You
It's
got to be able to
precisely
talk
because they
about it.
never talk about anything and just, mandate how things should be or should not be. That just aggravates things too.
Yeah.
It's constant repression.
If you don't talk, you create issues.
Well, when people stop talking, that's when the knives come out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it started when people stopped talking. It's when people refuse to talk. And when people refuse to listen.
Yeah.
That's.
Oh well.
But that's only for like domestic disputes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the problem with banning. How did this turn into a free speech discussion? It's a free speech is a core principle of mine. It's a hill I'm willing to die on.
Yeah.
I mean, at its core, because this isn't a stabbing problem per se. This is a social problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have two hills I'm willing to die on. One, well, there's more, but these are the top two because they affect all the rest. Free speech, hill I'm willing to die on. Period.
Mm-hmm.
The Second Amendment in the United States is another one. Because
yeah.
But it's a perfect parallel with this. Look what's happened in Britain. They have not completely outlawed firearms. I don't know all the rules, but it is highly regulated. They come from a culture where
very, very one of the probably the most restrictive set of gun laws in the
not even the cops carry guns.
Yeah. Except in Northern Ireland because well, it's Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
Well, you can who was Mike the Cop had a video like a month or so ago.
Yeah.
He had a police officer from the UK talk with, and everybody check that out.
You're roboting a bit, Jables.
Shit. Well, what am I going to do? I keep talking.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Here in America, we're fighting over whether or not the Second Amendment should exist effectively. Because whether you think it's necessary to whether you think guns are or should be banned or if they should be restricted, you're really arguing against the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
We're having those arguments. In England, they have exceedingly high restrictions on firearms because they don't have a Second Amendment. It's a high their constitution is what's I've heard constantly referred to as an unwritten constitution. It's based on case law as opposed to are legitimately written down and codified or written down not verbatim, written down on paper for all time constitution.
Yeah. And we can talk about how it's like how some of the founding fathers wanted it to be looked over and revised every 15 or so years. But that's regardless of the point. The first two are the most important in my book, and that's not just because of the first two. It's because we need to be able to share ideas. And instead of, I want to propose that we stop calling the Second Amendment the right to bear arms. I want to start calling it the right to protect ourselves, because that's really what it is.
Right to
it's protecting
self-defense.
yourself. Yeah, it's the right to self-defense by any means necessary.
But yeah, and we shouldn't even. Another point that they aren't the most important is because these were originally being jumbled around when they were writing them up. It just so happened that 1 and 2 are where they are. However, that doesn't make them any less important. The first 10 are supposed to be equally important to all of them. And the Third Amendment, we don't even think about today because that was against forcing people to house soldiers in times of war.
Yeah.
Or no, in times of peace.
Where you have the right not to incriminate yourself and the right to a speedy trial. There's I forget what the fourth is.
I actually have my pocket amendment here. Fourth Amendment, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches. It's the unreasonable search and seizure amendment.
Your right to privacy.
Yeah. These are important things, and these are things I honestly think should be universal. The Second Amendment and the First Amendment. The First Amendment gives you the right to say whatever you want. Partly because sunlight is the best disinfectant.
Oh, absolutely.
Look at who they're trying to silence. Anyone who's to the right of Antifa is effectively someone they're trying to silence, and their followings are growing. That includes people who are horrible people. If those horrible people were able to spout their words out in open air with everyone able to hear them, people would be less like, oh, they're being oppressed, there must be something true about what they're saying, and be more like, well,
there's a very good reason
this
they
person's
never
an
want
idiot.
cameras around. There's a reason they get very, very triggered whenever someone points a cell phone towards them. Or
there are people on both the left and the right that are being censored, and they're relatively moderate.
But we're not talking about those people here. We're talking about extremists.
Yeah,
people who compromise.
I'm getting there, Bar. I'm getting there. There are people on the left and the right, both, that are being censored, and I feel for them. The problem that I have with, especially them being censored, I don't really believe in censorship. I don't believe that there are words that we shouldn't use or anything like that. But the problem with moderates being censored is that the extremes go underground because they're like, oh, these moderates are being censored. I'm more extreme than them, so I'm not going to even try to bring my ideas out into the open. They're going to go underground. They're going to form communities, and then all of a sudden you got fucking random shit. You got a bunch of assholes that are causing violence.
Yeah, and Ground Floor Guthrie, you responded to Radical Centrist, but I want to make a point here. The way I see it, you're saying if you were to compromise, you'd draw the line at any weapon system which requires more than one person to maintain, arm, and fire. Sure, that's going to make a huge difference when people aren't going to pay attention to the law. The reality is, back in the day, I forget who wrote this, who was the respondent for this letter, but...
Are you talking about the cannons?
Yeah.
I think it was Jefferson.
Yes. A ship crew were asking if they could purchase cannons for their ship, if that was covered under the Second Amendment, and... Long story short, the response was, why haven't you bought them yet? Second Amendment. It's not about it's not about how powerful the weaponry is. It's about what it was supposed to be was anything that the military or the government could own, the people were supposed to be able to own as well.
Mm.
Yes.
I mean, here's
I
a funny fact. Even Marx, in his own writings, talked about how the proletariat was supposed to arm themselves and keep a good stockpile of weapons and ammunition to keep themselves protected.
yeah.
And
Something you
ground,
don't
and
see
ground.
Marxists mention a lot.
And ground, the reason I would not compromise is because any time that a compromise is given, those who are anti-Second Amendment try and take it even further. I mean, look at the steady downward turn. It used to be that kids were actually taught how to shoot in school. They were taught how to be safe around firearms in school. And that's no longer there. At least in certain states. Like, guarantee you, nowhere in California it's like that. I never learned anything like that in school. And while I won't argue that kids should be taught how to fire in school, at least firearm safety should be taught.
If they're going to teach firearm safety, at least do BB guns, because that'll at least teach you the basics of like safety. Don't put your finger on the trigger, sort of things like that. Always treat a gun as if it's loaded.
I mean, ignorance is never a good way to go.
You can teach the basics with a toy gun.
Yeah, you can use airsoft for that.
Even just or deactivated weapon.
Yeah, you can take the firing pin out of a weapon and then teach them with that. I would like a BB gun so that they can learn how to shoot, kind of. Just in case they're put in a situation where they need to. But that's a long conversation that I spent 7 hours on a few months ago.
We at least agree on the principle that ignorance of an issue is not a good defense against it. It has never been.
Shut up, centrist.
Yeah, well, there was I hate to bring up Steven Crowder, but I kind of like the guy, and he does really good Second Amendment videos.
Yeah.
So I can't deny that he knows his Second Amendment, even though he's a filthy Canadian.
That's probably why he knows it. He came down here, realized it wasn't as easy as he had always been told, and was like, I want to learn more about this. This is weird. Why have I been lied to so long?
He released
isn't his father?
He did a video recently. His mom's French Canadian. He lived in Canada most of his life. I know that.
I am almost sure at least his father is a U.S. born.
Yeah, maybe.
Probably why he got red pilled him, dude.
Yeah, but still, on top of that, like, he released a video recently where he did like one of his Change My Mind series, and then there were a couple of girls that agreed to. How about he offered to
teach them how to shoot and effectively purchase a firearm.
Pay the money to purchase a gun and run them through like the whole process of purchasing a firearm. And at the end of it, he taught them how to shoot. They shot several guns. At the end of it, they won guns. One of them wasn't old enough for the gun that they wanted, but she just wanted a nice little handgun just to keep for self-defense. But she wasn't 21 yet.
Yeah.
So.
And she suddenly found out, wow, it's a lot harder to get a gun than I thought.
Yeah. Yeah, they went through the whole background check and everything.
Yeah. Well, it's almost like one side's willing to lie and spread misinformation as long as it serves its cause.
Well, both sides really are, but it's just how one side has more propensity to it than the other.
Gotcha.
Yeah, can we just have honest conversations about shit people?
Yeah.
Like, not shit people, but shit kind of people.
That's actually a point I like to actually, that's a point I'd like to address, which is I have never seen a gun control advocate who is actually someone like fairly knowledgeable about the subject that still took that position.
I've seen
I'm sure there may be
but
they're at least the more extremes that go for the whole ban everything side. I have never met it. I've never seen one that knew what he was talking about.
I've seen a couple, but they were people that were well educated on the laws and everything, and the things that they were implementing were really minimal. It was more about more extensive background checks and waiting periods when you bought a firearm. That's
Mm.
that's the kind of things that they were proposing.
I disagree with waiting periods, but
I
that's because I live in
made my
California
money
where
doing
it's
my
a
shit.
10-day waiting period, and that's
Yeah.
whether or not you own a firearm already. And like, let's say you have a concealed carry permit. Not that I could get one where I am, but
Yeah.
let's say you have a concealed carry permit in California. You still have to wait 10 days to get that firearm after you've purchased it. Why? Because reasons. You've gone through the most stringent background checks in order to get a concealed carry permit, but you're still gonna need to go through every single thing that you have to go through for purchasing a firearm, which I'm not complaining about. But then you also have to wait 10 days, despite being vetted very thoroughly twice.
Well, okay. So here's my thing about waiting periods. It's kind of like when you know you're going to get a certain thing for Christmas, but you have to wait till Christmas until you can unwrap it, and it's sort of it's delayed gratification. So like that's how I view waiting periods. But yeah, I also agree that there shouldn't be, but that's just the way I tend to think about them. Yeah.
Yeah, we go from guns to knives to guns. I guess
Yeah.
I
Because the
guess what
parallels
we
are there.
yeah
The principle is the same.
the parallels are pretty clear. We went from tyranny in California to the absurdity of the tyranny in the UK
And
today.
again, the mindset seems to be privilege and cluelessness.
The
Not being
mindset
able
is
to understand.
completely different.
When people
Hey,
ended up divorced of certain types of realities in their day-to-day existence and cannot seem to fathom why someone would need to own X knife or some type of gun, because they don't,
Yeah.
because they have the privilege not to, and don't seem to miss it. Which is why I say privilege and cluelessness.
Well, a common argument I
Like too
see
much.
is why are these politicians trying to pass laws on gun control? We are not personally allowed to have guns, but we aren't allowed to defend our own houses with guns, but they're allowed to have armed guards on premises within seconds.
or live within gated communities or live in suburbia.
Well, that's what I mean.
Oh,
And then on
absolutely.
top of that, think about this. Dianne Feinstein, who is one of the largest proponents for gun control, she
Yeah.
had a concealed carry permit for a while.
Oh,
Yeah.
The best part about that one, in all actuality, the best part about that one, her own supporters got on her ass about it.
Which
Good.
is probably
Yeah, it's a frustrating thing. Like, personally, I carry around an asp when I'm in my neighborhood. I don't. I drink quite a bit, so I don't tend to carry around my gun, but I carry around an asp because I have some.
You cut out there.
And I don't want.
You cut out there.
Somebody has tried to mug me before.
You carry around a something. What do you carry around? Because you cut out.
An asp.
Oh,
an
asp.
Collapsible baton.
Yeah.
Yeah, Asp is the brand.
Yeah.
But yeah, people know them as Asp.
Yeah.
The problem with those is, again, like I told everyone, like weapon's a tool. Make sure you know how to use the tools you carry. Or you're just giving someone else a weapon to beat you with.
Yeah. Bar, you and I've already talked about that when it comes to my situation.
Just for people listening, I don't like. I'm not talking about you specifically, just in general, because there are people listening in, and just on the opposite side of things. Like we're talking about people who don't want you to carry anything, but at the same time, do not go to the extreme of thinking that just owning an object does not make it like a good luck charm or a magical amulet that's gonna protect you. There's care involved. Just the common sense disclaimer here.
know how to use it. And I don't carry my gun because I drink frequently enough. If I'm not drinking, I'll carry it. But sometimes on my way to the store, I like to sweep another bar.
That's a very smart thing to do.
Yeah. And I don't like carrying knives because I'm not very good with knives, and the collapsible baton gives me more range.
Good. Exactly.
The knives, and I don't want to accidentally end up cutting myself because once again, drinking. Accidentally.
No, again, that's the most responsible thing. If you're not sure that you are able to use something, well, don't carry it.
Yep.
Unfortunately, there are people who don't even want you to be able to carry it if you are versed in it. I am not.
Yeah.
I am not sour at all. I swear.
Mm-hmm.
I live in California.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing about the collapsible baton is it's not that it's better than any other type of bludgeon. It's more for the concealability of it.
Yeah, it's just
worried
I
lawmakers and
carry it
whatnot.
easily. I can whip it out real quick.
Exactly. It's usually why they get on the case for certain types of weapons and not others. Which is how quickly you can deploy from nowhere.
I don't know if you've ever been on the other side of somebody with a collapsible baton, but when somebody whips that out and it just extends, that's intimidating as fuck.
That sounds like a challenge to me.
Yeah, to you.
But I'm also a crayon eating motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For the most part, if I'm whipping it out, you shouldn't be worried about the intimidation purpose.
If you're whipping it out,
to deploy it's because I'm gonna use it on you.
There's gonna be two noises.
It's gonna be the click of the section slapping into place and then it rebounding off your.
If I whip something out, I intend to use it.
Yeah, that's what I was going for, Bar.
But if the person runs, that just
you're not gonna chase them.
Well, it depends on the situation. If they have something of yours and they're running, gauge the need of that item or the
but if they have something of mine, then I fucked up before they even got that.
Yeah.
So I fucked up somewhere else if they have something.
Yeah, there's a whole intricacies in the aspects of self-defense.
Sometimes it's just easier to comply. Sometimes it's not.
No. It's gotta depend.
Yeah.
Every situation is its own situation. Like we like to say sometimes jokingly in the voice chats, like there are no absolutes, which should be implied in these sorts of discussions.
Oh, by the way, anybody new joining the Discord, keep in mind we kind of have an ongoing rule. Whenever people are talking about things, generally just keep in mind it's hashtag not all.
Exactly.
Yeah, and if you are joining the Discord, keep in mind that there's a day-long waiting period to get access to the shows, or to some of the channels. Like you will have access to the voice chat 1 and voice chat 2 channels, but you will be limited from random streaming, the raid lounge, and all of gaming while you read the rules.
Yeah, read the rules. They're laid out. All the moderator roles and admin roles and stuff like that are laid out. Also,
not in the rules. The admin, moderator, manager roles are not laid out in the rules. That'll have to get added at some point.
We should we should at least have that as a pinned message in the rules.
Yeah. I will.
See, we're still working on shit, guys.
I will go ahead and pin it in announcements.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yeah, it'll be pinned in announcements. Bar, real quick. Anything you want to chill?
Not really.
Okay. Cool. Also, keep in mind, everybody in the Discord, we are trying to get our fallen comrade, Leslie Maxwell, who does not have internet. If you have any ideas on how to get him internet, please browse through the, what's the name of that?
Maxwell's Think Tank, and be sure to read the
Max-
pins and the description.
Yeah. Yes, and read through like the earlier stuff so that you can see what's been proposed.
And you don't have to
we're
go
trying
all
to
the
get him
way
back
up,
on.
but
No, you don't have to, but you can get an idea. There's only been a couple ideas that have been tossed around. But if you have anything new, please add, because we are trying to get him back on the internet after some fucking tweakers stole his modem, and it's a complicated issue.
Yeah.
it's in the pin.
Cool. All right. Yeah, I think that's it.
Well, be sure to watch the Saints after us, and be sure to watch the after show with Gator.
Indeed.
And with that, we have been your Lesser Saints of Discord, the one and only pre-show to the YouTube Saints. Please, everybody tweet at Sofane so that he'll finally get back to me with my messages, because he already promised to be on the show, but he's not replying to me anymore. That asshole. And we are on every Sunday night at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be sure to catch the Saints on the YouTube Saints channel. They got the community guidelines strike removed, so they will be streaming there at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And once again, Rimshi, thank you, Bar, for coming on.
Oh, always my pleasure.
It's been another fun episode. We've been your Lesser Saints of Discord. Have a good night, everybody.